everybody. It is Christina Aldan, and I am here with Fierce Women TV. I'm so excited because the studio is empty today. This is awesome. So Fierce Women TV is all about mentorship, leadership, the concepts of men as allies. And today I am interviewing the wonderful Munif Ali, a friend and somebody who has already, even in our short interactions, taught me some interesting things about business and how to be a strong woman. Welcome, Munif Ali. Hello.
Thank you so much, Christina.
You know, I'm excited to have you on today because your story is so interesting. And I've interviewed you for my podcast, which was, kind of a bit of a shorter interview. But today I really wanted to get into it and have a full hour to ask you about, how you came into be the entrepreneur that you are today, and talk about how it relates as well to the Fierce Women Project. So thanks for being on.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate your kindness and consideration.
You have an extensive background in entrepreneurship. You made your first million by the time you were 30 years old. And, you've had a lot of experiences that kind of shaped you into that, and how you have grown into being, angel investor, publisher. You have an entire real estate business that is just growing and growing and growing. I wish you would please share some of those experiences with us today. And I know this is a good story because I talked to you about, being raised by a single mom. And let's just start there. Tell us some of the experiences that helped shape your vision in becoming the entrepreneur that you are today.
I always brag, and I say brag about the fact that everything I've known and learned about being a strong man is from a woman. It really can't say it enough that the environment that I came from the projects, the Hunters Point housing projects in Northern California, and my mom was essentially the only leader of the house. My dad left when I was around 3 or 4 years old, too early to remember and too early to really make an impact. And she, raised her sons, basically went from, what was a middle income life. My dad was in the aircraft industry, and when he left, he, left a huge economic void. And we went from middle income, like I said before, to no income. Low income is one thing, but when you've got nothing coming in, and it's either making some choices like homelessness or my mom essentially was a homemaker the entire time she was married. She didn't work, although running a household in itself is like running a business. But she didn't have relatable skills to the workforce. And so with that economic void, that dependency on income being gone, she really had to make some hard choices, end up losing the house, and then moving her boys into the Hunters Point housing projects. Not the greatest environment, but the greatest, I'm grateful for the environment that I did grow up in, because any environment is going to help shape who you are later. And she just had to make some really hard choices. And that environment created a woman entrepreneur. It was the first example of an entrepreneur, period. She worked 2-3 jobs and on the weekends and helped, people clean their homes. My mom was illiterate, and I think I started to see the odds stacking up against us in our survival pretty early. And she was just a go-getter, and everything about my work ethic comes from her.
I love that. I love that early on, the first role model that you had for entrepreneurship was your mom, which is awesome. Fierce woman right there. And this is the other cool thing that I love, is that it's almost giving you this greater drive. And we had talked about this before about, when you have to work a little harder early on, it almost instills those qualities in you later. So, you see sometimes people talking about how business might be hard, or when obstacles come up, people may not have the perseverance. But that kind of background, it really prepares you for the world and offers up opportunities to practice perseverance early on. So would you say that was a really big influence in shaping how perseverant and how you kind of push through things? Because I see also you use a lot of innovation in your work now. It's almost like next level perseverance for you.
Well, when you're I had the privilege where my older siblings, they were in high school and had the luxury of having at least a male role model in their formidable years, you would say. They, quitting high school to do paper routes and other jobs as well. I've also learned from my older brother. But what my mom taught me was I had the privilege of being with her while she went on the weekends to clean people's homes. And that was an adventure. She made it a play wrapped with, taking the younger version of me out and showing me what the workforce was like in her own way. So I knew that, hey, mom used me very early on to be able to read the signs that were out there, as far as, physically read, bus, names and different routes, and fill out forms for anything from job employment to everything else. So I had to learn how to be able to assist her. But
sure.
Going to see her work tirelessly throughout the day, cleaning someone's home, and then I think I remember mentioning this in a podcast where I distinctly remember the emotion, the environment, what was said, because we were on a bus ride back, and my mom was weeping, just quietly weeping, and I looked up at her, and tears were still rolling down her eyes. And she kept looking in the bag, and so which caused the 5-year-old me to also look in the bag to see what's making mommy cry. And I was like, Mom, what's wrong? And she said, they not only didn't pay me for cleaning their home the whole day, but they paid me a lot less, and look at what they gave us. And I looked in the bag, and I didn't know, but then she pointed out that all the vegetables that were given to her were from the refrigerator that she cleaned out, and basically the vegetables were rotting. And I remember the emotion, distinctly that she was affected by that. And I made little promises there that I was not gonna let somebody else dictate my income and control that aspect of my business. And just knowing that had caused pain in my mom because of all the other actions that had taken place, like the economic void and all that. She was forced to do things that she necessarily didn't want to do and wasn't getting paid the right amount. So I started to really think and embrace the philosophy behind independent, free-spirited, fierce, not only men and women, but just being a fierce entrepreneur and saying, you know what, I'm going to live and die by my actions. And the type of perseverance that comes from it was the exchanges that my mom had with me in talking and guiding me in my early life. And that was really formidable at a much earlier age than I would have gotten if it wasn't in the condition that I was in. My mom being illiterate really also gave me a different viewpoint on education alone as well. It taught
an appreciation almost,
right,
yeah.
A whole nother appreciation, yes.
Yeah, no, that's great. If you had to define a fierce woman, and I ask this of everybody, what is your definition of a fierce woman? What are those types of qualities do you think that a fierce woman should have?
A fierce woman is motivated by her big why, and they are hell-bent and delusional in achieving whatever they put their mind, heart, and soul, and they deliver it with motivation. And it's so unbending, unyielding that they influence others around them to also be fierce. So you can't just be fierce alone. You have to give with so much gratitude about being fierce and hell-bent about your own goals that it becomes a community around you of other people.
Activates the tribe. Yes, I love that.
Right.
I love that. I love that. You know, becoming a millionaire before you're 30 is something that a lot of people think about. Would you say that a big part of how you walk and how you do business and about how you support your why is because of that perseverance? Is it because, you know, you do almost anything to make it into fruition? Is it because specifically you have such an amazing team around you, which you do, by the way, Munif? I've met your team and they're fantastic. You know, what was there one single thing that led to your success? Or were there a couple of really important parts, key characteristics that led you to your success?
I started to really study what makes successful businessmen and women at an early age. I was a latchkey child, obviously. My mom worked a lot. And my first daycare, if you will, my first notion of somebody else taking care of me was the Anna Whedon branch of the public library in Northern California. That's where I went to after school. There was a lot of things going on in my community that I could have found different paths, I'll tell you. But reading and kind of dating myself, but because the first Google, in essence, out there was called the World Book and Britannica Encyclopedia.
That's right.
Went from A to Z, just kind of studying and reading up on profiles, just killing time. And at the time, we didn't have a TV, we didn't have internet and all those. And so just reading from an early age showed me a couple of things. One, that history was very jaded in the way in what was promoted, shown, and the way that, of all the articles, you read, there wasn't really representation of people of many different diverse backgrounds. So I noticed that growing up, and then, my hero, was my mom, and it was, a woman of very deep, dark, beautiful color that came from somewhere else, in the South Pacific, and that didn't have all the instruments needed to quote unquote be successful, but she survived it. And just reading and being around other people that may look like myself or other people. See, the great thing, and I just gave a speech about gratitude, is that you look around in the world these days and you get to see manifestations of people that look exactly like you at the pinnacle of success. So the next generation has this wonderful opportunity to look around and say, you know what? I am a Hispanic American or Asian American. I am a woman. I'm not a skinny woman, or I'm not this. I don't look like that, or my sexual orientation. Nothing really matters, because whatever you are and whoever you are, you can emulate someone right now that is killing it and crushing it, for a lack of a better term.
No, that's great. I love that you said that, because so much of how the Fierce Women Project was designed was to make sure that we're putting fierce women, community leaders, role models up in front of the room so that they can see and look up to other people. The data tell us that when you see somebody in a position of power, then, like you said, you can emulate them. It makes it more real for you. You can visualize that for your future self as well. So I love that you brought that up. That's great. If you had to say, some of your professional professional challenges that you've had to overcome, is there one that really stands out that helped you make a pivotal change in yourself, in your business, in the way that you walked through your life and in your daily life and interacted with people? What's one of the biggest professional challenges that you've had, Monif?
I think the greatest professional and personal journey that I've ever taken was that, hey, great, millionaire by 30. Wonderful. We live in a country where that's very possible. But by 35, I lost it all. It was a very rewarding, enriching experience for me because I needed that. Choking up here, but I needed that because I had the Midas touch for all my adult years, you know. Yeah. It's about perseverance. It's about taking action. It's about being a go-getter. But when you're losing it all, you get to see who you really are when you peel back those layers. And I got to see not only things about myself, but my support system, the people that love me, that have been around me. So, you know, when it's feasting time, everybody's at the table and everybody's enjoying the wine and all the instruments of success, and everybody's enjoying the plentiful plates. But it's the famine that really teaches you about who you are and about who you surrounded yourself. So when I was losing homes and losing apartments and losing investments, I was also losing friends. So in with the worldly things that make you quote unquote successful, I was losing a lot of people that were around me for the benefit of just being around me because I was a winner. But when I became a loser, I wanted to, and not loser in a permanent way. Right. No, I started to lose things, and I started to say, you know what? What was it that got me to win, to accomplish my goals? And I started to really distill down the habits, the routines, the exercises that I used to become a millionaire by 30. By 35, I learned this valuable lesson, and then from then on, I've been building it back up with a renewed sense of appreciation and gratitude.
I love that. And we're going to talk about your Powerful Habits program coming up soon here. But before we go on break, I wanted to ask you just one more question. You know, so much of how you work is about community. It's about giving back. It's about everybody growing together. And, you know, there's a lot of equality in there in how you work, in your language, in everything that you do. I wonder what's your vision for the next generation of empowered girls for women's leadership and for men who support women's leadership. What is your vision for that next generation as we kind of go through this time of transition right now?
I think it's really important. Men, women, races, you know, colors, creeds, religion, all those kind of things that I come from a very heavy sales background. So it was all about competition, if you will. But now if you look at your life and what you're doing in a sense of lack, that's what you get. You get competition and not having. But if you look at life as abundance, you start to see that it's collaboration that we all need. There are beautiful, wonderful, enriching minds and cultures out there, and differences in the way we look at things. Our perspectives are different. So filling your room up, filling your company up, filling your social sphere up with different ways of looking at things enriches not only our lives, but the lives around us. And what I see for the future, because I'm a father of beautiful girls as well, is that their lives, if we approach collaboration, and I've done that as a father as well, is to continue to teach them to get along with not only one another, but getting along and understanding that we're part of a bigger fabric, that we're part of a bigger community, and that no leader, no matter how superior or no matter how brilliant you think you are in your mind, you're only better with people around you that support and foster and administer you know, innovation, administer and help you get pushed forward. See, a lot of modern leaders think they get there to wherever they're getting to alone. And what I've learned in my darkest, failure-filled moments is that yes, you can fail alone, but to succeed, you need people around you that share the vision. And so
Gotcha.
what I would want for the next future generation is to understand that everybody is responsible for their own actions. And if you want change, you have to be the voice of change. You can either watch change go by or be a part of the change and do things like you're doing. Advocate change by showing as an example.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm fully on board with that as well. That's how I do everything as well. And our founder for Fierce Women, that's how he designed all of the programs that we do today. We're here with Munif Ali. We're going to take a short break, and we will be back in a moment. We're going to talk about your powerful habits. That's going to be awesome. And then we're going to talk about Thinkruptor magazine. You want to talk about innovation. That is going to be cool. So we'll be right back. Please stay tuned.